Holy shit, this stuff is expensive. What's up, my friends? U.S. Army veteran Christopher Chaos, and no, this is not an actual price list of Army gear, but I do have that, so we are gonna check it out. And this is not actually a helmet. This is just a cheap airsoft helmet that I just got off of Amazon for decoration purposes, but we are gonna talk about some of the real items that you get issued in the Army and just how much do they cost. The reason for this video is earlier in the year, I did a video that kind of talked about, you know, some of the gear that the Army issues you and some of it you get to keep and what items you do get to keep. And I know some people in the comments were like, well, technically you can just keep all of it if you just don't turn it in and pay for it. Yeah, I guess you could do that if your thing is paying way more for something that's not worth that much. But my main thing here is some of this stuff is really expensive, and you probably could get like a commercial version that's maybe just as good, maybe better, I don't know, for a lot cheaper. So I kind of really want to show you just a few items. What does it actually cost if you were to lose it and have to pay for it from the Army? Now, in order to do this video, I got the help of one of the moderators, one of the viewers from this channel, a current Army soldier, that is Gunrunner. Gunrunner was able to hook me up with some NSNs, which is the national stock number for some of his equipment in the Army, because as you're about to see in this list, there is a ton of items inside of here. And sometimes the NSN is different here and there on different items. So I had him send me some of those NSN numbers for some of the gear that he was issued to him in Fort Hood, Texas. That way we can compare some of those items to this list. This isn't a everything that you get issued to you type of, video, but a few kind of big items maybe to you that you might be interested in maybe. If you want to know about the price of something that's not in this video, then you're probably gonna have to do your own research. But this is just to give you a ballpark, a little bit of an estimate from actually Fort Stewart. This is the list from Fort Stewart as far as their prices for their equipment. So it probably is the same pretty much worldwide for the United States Army. I don't really see it being like different prices for Fort Stewart compared to Fort Hood, compared to Fort Carson or whatever. It's probably the same because it's all coming from the same place. It's not gonna fluctuate based on the location, I wouldn't think anyways. I don't see it making sense for it to be that way. So you probably could expect these same prices no matter where you go. So let's kind of dive into the spreadsheet, talk about, like I said, a handful of them, and you can see just how much some of this Army gear costs. Okay, so I have in front of me the basically Excel spreadsheet of all of the Army equipment that Fort Stewart issues out, the prices for it. It even breaks down if it's something you get to keep or not keep too, if you really want to dive into that. I don't think all Army installations actually have this available, but this one was an easy one for me to find from Fort Stewart, so we're gonna be using this one for the reference. So when we take a look at this, you have a ton of items. I mean, we're talking about thousands and thousands of items inside of here. A lot of them having like the same type of names, but they'll have different NSN numbers. That usually is what kind of makes it a little bit different. Sometimes it's difference in size, version number, all sorts of things. So that's why I had the help of Gunrunner, one of our moderators, to really help me out to see what was the stuff he was issued at Fort Hood and kind of compare it from this list. And I was able to find the NSNs for the items that he had for what he does have. He did tell me that he does have some things that he wasn't issued to him because they were all out and he has to get it later, but some key items inside of here that I definitely wanted to hit on that we're gonna kind of check out. First one being this guy right here. Now, some of the names of these things are crazy. Sometimes unless you're a supply person, you'd have no idea what these things are if you're someone that worked in CIF or something like that. But this one is labeled in here as insert individual utility. And what that is actually the first aid pouch. You have a first aid pouch that can attach to your gear. You can wear somewheres and then has some first aid stuff inside of there, like a tourniquet, maybe some bandages, whatever, to be able to utilize in a situation. And the price of that thing is $8.36. Not too bad. Maybe more expensive than what you could buy something similar to it. Maybe you could buy something for half the price, from a website, especially from a surplus store. But just to give you a general idea, something as minimal like that, like a pouch, about $8.36, right? And so you could expect that a lot of other pouches will be in that same kind of way. Even like here, you have bag individual equipment carrier. I don't know what that is. Maybe that's another type of pouch. This 40 millimeter OCP right here. So maybe it's a 40 millimeter round kind of carrier type of pouch, but it costs $6.08, right? So just to give you a general idea, other items, other pouches probably range from that $5, $10 range, somewhere's around there. So if you're trying to think about, what about these ammo pouches? What about this type of pouch? Probably somewhere's in that range. The next one I wanted to hit on was the sleeping bag system. That comes in multiple parts. You have First, the sleeping bag. You have the bivy cover is what it's called, which is this item right here, the bivy cover. It's like just a camouflage, and this one is the UCP version that he was issued based on the NSN that he gave me. So that is like this kind of water resistant type of cover that goes over the sleeping bag to try to keep you dry, basically. And that thing runs for $131.42. That is something you have to return, something you have to turn in. So if you were to lose that outer cover, that little water resistant bivy cover as it's called, that would cost you $131. Then other parts of the sleeping bag, like this is like this little stuff sack it's called. It's basically like the bag for the sleeping bag, so you can stuff the sleeping bag inside of it. That thing runs for $19.25. As far as the actual sleeping bag itself, it's right here, modular sleeping bag, regular 5-piece UCP, $322.66. And you might be thinking, I can get a pretty darn good sleeping bag from a sporting goods store or whatever for probably $100, $50, whatever. Sure, you probably could. The main thing with like the Army one is it's rated for pretty low temperatures, but even those pretty low temperatures, I still feel like you could probably get one that's probably rated about the same for cheaper than $322.66. But I mean, I'm not a sleeping bag expert, but I do feel like that's pretty damn expensive for a sleeping bag. So that's just the sleeping bag part itself. Obviously, if you're adding in the stuff sack, you're adding in that bivy cover, it adds up, right? We're in the $400 range, $500 range, right, for the whole sleeping bag system itself. So if you were to lose that entire sleeping bag system, pretty pricey, right? That's gonna be expensive. And I don't think you really want to keep that for that sleeping bag, especially because it's used. Even though it's used, they're still gonna pay you full price to be able to replace it. They're not gonna charge you like or not gonna, give you a discount because it's a used sleeping bag. No, they're gonna charge you this full price. That's what you're gonna have to pay. So that's why a lot of times it's just better to go to a surplus store to buy it, because you can buy it from a surplus store used for cheaper, turn that thing in, and not have to pay full price for a brand new one. Moving on, we have the helmet. So here's the NSN that Gunrunner gave me for the helmet. Helmet Advanced Combat, or the ACH as it's called. Looks like he wears a small, so I guess he's got a small head. So for the small version, $205.29, but you'll also notice the large, the extra large, still $205.29. So the size really doesn't have an impact, or doesn't have an impact on the price. So it's an expensive helmet, $205 for that helmet. Now, the next one I want to go over is actually the vest. The vest is going to be listed in multiple pieces because it does come apart. You have a little pull tag that pulls, the thing comes apart. That way, if you're in a situation and you need to get the body armor off that soldier because they've been shot, they've been, taken some shrapnel from a blast, you need to treat them very easily and be able to get to their wounds without trying to get the vest off of them and possibly cause more injury to them. It allows for that quick release. So it allows someone to get it off of them so they could potentially lose pieces to that vest, and that's why it's kind of labeled individually into these different pieces of the vest. So let's dive into the different pieces of the vest, starting off with right here. We've got the collar. That is the collar insert. It's kind of like a big piece on the inside that snaps into it, and then it comes up with a collar and everything like that. That piece alone is $42.42. In here, it's labeled as body armor, yoke, and collar, so it's just the collar system for it. So moving on from that, we actually have the front of the vest. Like I said, it does come apart. So here we have the front of the vest, so the front half of it. So labeled as carrier, front outer shell, $136.19. From there, you then have the back half of it. The back half of it is $136.19. So here, carrier, back outer shell, still very expensive. You then have the side plates for the vest. There's like a side area to kind of protect against shrapnel and everything against that. The version that Gunrunner has is the insert small, arms black for the side inserts, and those cost $183.32. That is just one piece, I believe. I don't think it's two separate pieces, I don't think. Because I think it comes apart as one. I'm not 100% sure if that's two pieces. I think it's just one though, but very expensive still nonetheless. Then you have what is called the groin protector. That is this little flap in the front that it's not really bulletproof to stop your junk from getting shot, but does help against some shrapnel kind of a thing. But I think the main thing is like the femoral artery is in there, right? Is that how you pronounce it? The main artery right there in your leg. That thing costs $9.89. Not too shabby, but still. So that is the vest itself, but there are still the plates. So we're gonna check out the plates now. So this one is pretty crazy. Here is a plate itself, an insert, which is the plate that goes inside of there. $624.51. So those plates are pretty expensive. That's for one plate, and inside the vest is 2 plates. Now, I don't have the side plates. There are some small plates going on the side, so I don't have the price of those, but I'd imagine they're probably not as much as this, but they're probably up there. They're probably like a good $200 or $300 probably. So you see that all those individual pieces of the vest is pretty expensive. Let's tally that up. So let's go ahead and do the math on some of this stuff. I mean, that front plate right there, $624.51. There's 2 of them. We'll add in the collar for it. We add in the front half of that vest, the back half of that vest, the groin protector, and the side plate for the vest, assuming it's just one piece. So that brings our total to $1,757.03 if you were to have to buy that entire vest. So that is not an item you want to lose. I mean, we're looking at almost $2,000 for that dang vest, all right? I mean, you might get a little bit cheaper, obviously, if you didn't lose the plates. Maybe it didn't have the plates in it, but if it's the full-on vest, you got the plates inside of it, you were out in the field, you left that sucker on the side of your vehicle, it fell off and it got lost or somehow got stolen, whatever the case was, it's pretty hefty. That's pretty expensive. I feel like, I don't know if, you can get a commercial one for better, maybe, and probably for cheaper, but I feel like that's still a lot of money. I feel like, you probably don't necessarily in the civilian world need a $1,757.03 armored vest when you probably could get a pretty darn good one for maybe a couple $100 probably. So there you have it. If you really want to keep like the vest, the helmet, sleeping bag or something like that and just pay for it, by all means, go for it. I'm sure you could probably find it somewhere else for cheaper, but that's what it would cost you. Now, I know you're thinking about clicking away from the video, but check this out. Watch this. I want to show you this cool trick, okay? Huh? Oh man, look at my thumb. Oh man, nope, still good. No, we're still good. Still got all 10 fingers, right?